Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loudon Agile Network. Today's topic is Future Forward, Generative AI Trends Unveiled. And we have with us today AI guru, Uday Kamath. Uday brings more than 25 years of experience in analytical development, and he has a PhD in scale machine learning. He is the author of many best-selling books in AI and ML, and in addition to working a full-time job, he also volunteers and spends time at George Mason University, where he supports and helps with AI-related topics. Without further ado, let's please welcome our speaker of the day, Uday Kamath.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Meenakshi, everyone. Great to be back here. And this is my second time in the land. So thanks again. Just wanted to give an overview to what Toby mentioned. I have background in AI and machine learning, been working on AI and machine learning for last 2 decades from both commercial side as well as the academic side. Been working on many of the cutting edge technologies of using AI in production systems, in finance, in healthcare, in security agencies. One of the most thankful aspect of working on AI is like uh, saving lives through cancer detection in 170 plus hospitals, or saving 12,500 kids in 3 years through by preventing sex trafficking and stuff like that. So today we will focus on various aspects of Gen AI. The agenda roughly looks like to catch up with headlines, breakthroughs, challenges, start looking at Gen AI from like 30,000 feet level, understand AI, large language models, what is the process, some of the terms we keep hearing like prompting, RAG, what does that mean, and how do people use that? Then kind of like looking at like global disruption, then focusing on things in America, how Gen AI is changing the landscape, understanding between automation and augmentation, the balancing forces, understanding how the industry will change, what are the new roles that you see in software engineering, in IT, understanding the impacts from finance, healthcare, retail. Just not that, but looking at some of the challenges of using these large language models or generative AI. Um, and finally, what the future looks like. So I'll start with the various news articles that I could think about. In 2023, we witnessed the emergence of AI models that not only mimic human intelligence, but in many ways surpass it. One of the most talked about breakthroughs was development of GPT-4 or Chat GPT by OpenAI. It revolutionized how we interact with machines, making them more intuitive, responsive, and capable of understanding complex human communication. The year saw like many strides in almost all fields, from creative fields, from scientific fields, from technology, day to day. Everyone had like a flavor of AI that they could connect with. Now, it is just not these amazing breakthroughs that happened and great news. As we marvel at this rapid advancement in AI, it's imperative to confront the challenges and ethical dilemmas that technologies bring to the forefront. Critics have also labeled AI, like as you see in many of these headlines, as dumb stochastic parrot and mere memorizer. They are they rely only on what they have learned through these data sets, and they don't understand things. Uh, so AI can mimic understanding and generate response based on patterns, but does it truly understand these things? in a human sense. Bias in AI is a significant challenge. Despite their advanced capabilities, AI systems can perpetuate and even amplify these biases because it comes from their training data, and training data comes from humans. So at that very high level, I wanted to put this question of what is generative AI. And through all these buzzwords and things that happened in last 2 years, I feel that we have been exposed to generative AI a while back. For instance, when we used Google Translate, we were giving it language like Greek over here or Hindi or whatever Spanish you wanted to translate to, and it was translating it back to English. When we were using iPhone or Google, we were trying to write the words and it was completing it on our behalf. And all of that was AI. Some of them were at the nascent part of technology way back in 2007 when Google Translate came in. And slowly in 2017-18, they moved towards large language models. And by 2020, everything behind the scenes in AI world started using those large language models. And now it has become a gigantic model. I won't even call that large, it is gigantic. Now, to set the level or to make sure that everyone understands the concept, I wanted to give the basic terminology in next few slides so that everyone understands that. Now, AI is a broad field of computer science focused on creating systems that is capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. This includes things like recognizing speech, making decisions, translating language, and many things we have been doing. Within the AI field, machine learning is just a small subset where the computers learn from data, improving their accuracy over time without being explicitly programmed for each task. And deep learning or neural networks is like subfields inside that. So AI, machine learning, and neural networks are, or deep learning are subset of that, where you are kind of like, not in exact sense, replicating human brain. And it has been shown that it enables sophisticated learning, decision making, mimicking human through mimicking of human brain structure and function. Large language models like ChatGPT are advanced applications of deep learning designed to understand, generate, and interact using natural language at scale and complexity that's remarkably human-like. Now, I wanted to bring some of the terms that goes along with generative AI or large language models. So let me demystify some of the key terms that are foundational to understanding how these advanced AI systems work. First, the corpus is an important term. Imagine a vast library, not of books, but of digital text. That is what the corpus is. A large collection of text data that large language models use to learn language. It includes everything from novels and articles to websites capturing diverse human language. Next, the concept of tokens. If corpus is our library, then tokens are individual words or phrases. There are a number of ways how you can do it. In AI, text is broken down into these tokens, which serve as building blocks for understanding and generating language. Now, from that particular tokens and corpus, we have to learn some things, and those are called patterns. This is where the AI starts to think. By analyzing the corpus from the tokens, LLMs learn patterns, how the tokens are related to other tokens. A simple example, I can say that I want to and say play, and next word will be like the number of things, nouns, like play X, play football, play soccer, or play tennis, and stuff like that. So based on all the corpus or tokens, it has seen the affinity between these two words. Now, these patterns are translated into what is called a numerical representation, and some people call it embeddings and stuff like that. But they are just numbers that capture the meaning and context of words and phrases in a way machine can understand. The whole training process is akin to intensive study session here, like how humans learn from the textbook. Here, the large language models go through corpus many times, multiple times, learning and refining their understanding of language. They make predictions and then they make mistakes. They get corrected. And all of this process is automatic. And the last stage is inference. That is when you sit in front of ChatGPT, you ask a question or what is called as prompt. It uses what it has learned to make inferences and generate response. This is where the magic happens. The model draws on its vast knowledge or knowledge base that it has learned from these particular tokens and corpus and patterns, and writes stories, generates code, or whatever you have asked to. So I wanted to go a bit technical. I won't spend a lot of time, but I wanted to give step by step what happens inside the large language model. So let's explore the life cycle. From raw text, as I mentioned, to this finely tuned model, which is aligned to human values, various steps happen in between. It all starts from the raw text, from that corpus. Imagine gathering a variety of written language from books, articles, websites, and that are feeding into computer. This raw text serves as the foundation, helping the initial model known as the base large language model learn the basics of language, grammar, vocabulary, basic understanding. Next, we enter into what is known as supervised fine-tuning. The first part is known as self-supervised. No one teaches it. It is just words and affinity of words with each other. Next phase is called supervised fine-tuning. Here, the base model is refined into more specific data sets, human annotated prompts. These are like lessons from a tutor guiding the model to understand language, context, nuances, and subtlety. The result is what is known as a SFT model or supervised fine-tuned model, a version of large language model that's more aligned with specific task or understanding. Now it becomes bit complex. The journey continues with creation of what is known as reward model. By evaluating and learning to rank the response of humans, you might be doing it when you guide on things on ChatGPT. You may be saying that this is right and this is wrong. So behind the scene, they use it to what is known as learn the reward model. By evaluating and learning to rank the responses of humans to various prompts, these models learn what constitutes a good answer. It's like learning from feedback, just like how we teach kids or how we teach even adults. Finally, all of this, we harness the power of reinforcement learning from human feedback to further align these models. That is where like the 3 H's comes into picture, that if you ask something wrong, it will say that, no, I won't answer this, or this is hateful, or this is not right. So making sure that it is helpful, harmless, and honest are like the important goals in this particular step. So now that we know what AI is, what LLMs is, and how it has learned it from like structures, the patterns, and we have what is called as language model behind the scene. How do we actually use that language model? And this is where a conversation between machine and humans happens. This is where the magic of large language models and the key of unlocking the magic is through what is called as prompting. So what is prompting? Prompting is how we communicate with LLMs. It involves providing a model with specific request or question known as prompt, which guides the model in generating a relevant and coherent response. Think of it as asking a highly knowledgeable friend for advice, information, or even creating something new. So how does it work? When you input a prompt, LLM dives into its vast understanding of language, context, and nuances of your request based on everything you have taught from the last slide. Using what it has learned from its training data, the model generates the response that matches the intent and style of your prompt. The beauty of prompting is it is flexibility. You can ask anything from simple fact to complex story, and the model will adapt its output accordingly to that particular response. Now, again, beware that it is confined to what it has been trained on. So many times you will see that ChatGPT responding, I have been trained only on data till September 2021 or 2022, and I don't have all this information you are asking about. And I will tell about a technique where you can improve on some of that. Next is the concept of prompt engineering. Now we know we can ask prompts, but there are various techniques here. And we will see that AI prompt writer is like now a 300K job that is coming out in most of the companies. So what do these people do? There are various prompt engineering techniques, and each of them has strengths and pros and cons, or like advantages and disadvantages. Some of them are like much close to how humans are made to think. For example, something known as chain of thought. You just not ask it to provide the answer. You ask it to do it step by step. You ask it to, how would you break down the answer, or how did you came to this particular output? Similarly, there is react, which is reason and action. And reasoning can be combined with chain of thought, and you can say different things for addressing that particular technique. And I'm just giving a cheat sheet here where there are many of these cheat sheets, and you can adapt one of these cheat sheets for your task. Basically, the prompt format is at the center. You normally use that, assume the persona of an expert persona. You can give like whether you want it to be a coder, or whether you want it to be a person, or whether you want it to be a tutor, whatever that is. You can use different verbs, whether it is for instruction, whether you want the task to be summarization, whatever it is. You can specify the format and length, say like I want to write an essay, or I want to generate a PowerPoint, and all the choices there. What the objective is, the output should include this relevant data. You can specify what the output should look like. You can give the tone of voice. You can say that what formal register it has to use and stuff like that. And then there are certain parameters like temperature, which controls how deterministic the output is when you ask it to write it again. So this is what most people, almost close to what most people use for doing many tasks they have to generate the content. Now, as I said, like this is one particular use case where I am generating I'm not using any of my data, but asking ChatGPT or large language model to generate the response. And sometimes it will tell me that it doesn't have data beyond 2021, or I want to customize it with my data sets, whether it is structured, unstructured, or my program, or whatever it is. And that is where the concept of RAG comes into picture. RAG stands for retrieval, augmentation, generation. And it is like how you, instead of doing prompt, will ask a query, and behind the scene, you can supply your data, whether it is structured, unstructured, or any form that goes into some form of database called whether vector databases or any places where things get indexed. And that concept of prompt query and relevant data all go as a context to large language model. So instead of you asking large language model, you will ask it to a logic that brings all your data into picture, and with the prompt query and all that data goes into large language models, and then it gives you a response which is specific to your data or specific to what you have asked, rather than something generic that it has been trained on. So this is a very evolving field. There are hundreds of techniques and hundreds of companies I will mention who are working on this to give you the specifics in different ways. Now, I wanted to talk about like what is happening in the world in terms of how many of these LLMs are causing disruption. And I wanted to use this statistics from IMF and its work done in 2023. Now, though AI holds promise to significantly transform the global economy, it is affecting labor markets, at least from this particular data. Advanced economies are poised to encounter the impacts of AI earlier, as expected, than their emerging and developing counterparts, primarily due to workforce concentrated in cognitive intensive jobs. I want to give an example that Singaporeans aged 40 and above will receive $4,000 equivalent of that through something known as future to top up their skills starting this May. And you can have diplomas and courses all working on AI and make yourself kind of like re-educate yourself in AI. So you will see that a lot of countries and companies are actually working on many of these to kind of shape up their whole task force so that the disruption is of huge value and in positive way to their particular country. I have put some of the statistics in terms of job creation, elimination, exposure, and future skills demand, but this is from IMF. Now, several factors are poised to reshape job landscapes. And this is focusing on US. This is from the McKinsey report. Like automation, federal investment in infrastructure and net zero transition, and long-term trends like aging, technology, and many of these will have huge impact on both technologies and in the workforce. On left-hand side, I have shown like a resilient and growing occupation. On the right-hand side, I have shown hit and declining occupation. Now, some of these are like estimates or like just predictions, but most of them are true. While forces are expected to diminish jobs in customer-facing, office support, food services, customer service, sales, production roles for over 84% of the anticipated 12 million occupational shift by 2030, sectors such as business, legal, healthcare, transportation, and STEM are likely to see the growth. This innovation is set to broaden the impact of automation on jobs, requiring expertise, interaction, and creativity, and increasing the share of tasks automated in US economy from 21.5% to 29.5%. Significant job growth is anticipated in healthcare sector, with the projected demand for 3.5 million jobs in health aides, technicians, and wellness workers, along with like 2 million more in professionals around the IT sector. STEM fields are expected to see 23% increase in demand, driven by digital transformation or around the AI transformation. Banking, healthcare, everyone will see a growth. Conversely, the largest job loss would be in office support, customer service, food service, where 11.8 million workers will be transitioned in some way. And that would be a significant shift towards jobs requiring higher education and skills. Now, the question is, how does that happen? It won't happen like in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. This is what is called the balance between automation and augmentation. Augmentation empowers employees by offloading repetitive tasks to AI. It helps in enhancing productivity, job satisfaction through focus on complex creative part. Automation raises concerns about job displacement in roles dominated by routine tasks, yet it also streamlines processes and can enhance human capacity for tackling complex challenges. Impact across departments like engineering, marketing, and PR can leverage Gen AI for efficiency and creativity, while accounting, administration, and HR may see part of their functions completely automated. You may see that you can ask ChatGPT today to write a marketing content, and it will do a job as good as, like, I won't say like the best, but it will do an above average job in generating that marketing content. The evolving role of Gen AI necessitates reskilling and upskilling initiatives to pivot analytics, to pivot these workforces towards this.
Uday?
Yeah.
Your camera was covered. Okay, you're visible now.
Okay.
Yeah, it was veiled for a second. Okay.
Okay. So you can see that between this automation and augmentation, there are two complementary forces. There will be automation for many fields. There will be initial augmentation for some of the fields. And soon that augmentation will again move towards automation. So it will be an iterative cycle between automation, augmentation, and automation. So here you can see like various fields and how that balances between opportunity to automate and opportunity to augment happens. And I just wanted to give one example, like Klarna CEO, like way back in December, they had AI replace, and they had like laid off like more than 700 workers. And their CEO issued this statement, which became a big news way back in March, that a single AI system can do the job of 700 workers. So it is just not about like estimations. Some of them are really factual. Now, many of us in IT are very close to what is known as software engineering, writing code. And here I put like a simple example on my right side, where the things we learned about today, like prompting, I can ask large language model to write code in certain language, following certain structure for doing particular task, and just in normal English. And what you see over there in the response is Python code almost written like a data scientist will write, to look at the data, do correlation, and visualize that particular correlation. And if you look at the tools like GitHub Copilot and many others I have mentioned, you can use it for like a lot of efficiency in your day-to-day tasks. I won't say like software engineering will be completely gone or replaced, but you can see that just in matter of a year of Gen AI making the waves, that you can just give the prompts and you have code generated, and even testing code generated. Like you can have error detection, you can have like integration across most IDEs today. You can have refactoring, unit test being written. Most of what developer and functional QA does can be now done through GitHub Copilot or equivalent. And just March 12th, the first AI software engineer was introduced by Scott Wu, and he was called Devin. And again, like it is just that particular concept of, instead of using prompt, you can give it requirements, and it makes life even more easy in terms of generating code. And that is where the future in terms of automation and augmentation is moving towards. Now, as I mentioned, like it is just not like AI will take over the jobs of software engineering, and software engineering folks will not have work to do. It will be a transformation. There will be new roles. And this is taken from like a credible source on what are the different roles that we see, just focusing on IT and normal things that happen in software engineering and machine learning. There are roles like prompt engineer. I gave an example a few slides back, what they are supposed to do. And there is some creativity there, some aspect of knowing how LLMs work. And you can see some of like the trends, like 11% of these companies have hired prompt engineers. And I have seen some of the prompt engineers, and they are actually making very good money in terms of like based on the experience they have and based on other things they bring to the table. There is various other roles. Instead of content writer, there are AI writers. Instead of like normal digital artists, now there are AI artists. There are AI chatbot developers, where you use common, which is very common in customer service or in many of like food industries, where instead of like having humans coming in picture and like or like workflows, everything is about like having a conversation, converse with data, converse with the process, all through chatbots. There are new roles, LLM engineers, LLM or AI researchers focus just on LLM and how they can be built, how they can be tuned, and how they can be used in the system. So it's just not like existing roles are diminishing, but new roles are coming into picture. And this is where people can get used to understanding what Gen AI does and make themselves much more useful for future. Now, I wanted to talk about some of the shifts in the industry. Just like you saw in the software engineering and IT, where code generation, code completion, prompting has placed an important role. Every industry, whether it is financial industry, whether it is healthcare, every industry is seeing that particular shift. Between augmentation and automation, there is that particular shift. Here I have given from the Boston group a very high level analysis of how AI or generative AI is helpful for decision making, and the green side of it, the blue side is more for generative AI for producing content, generating ideas, answering questions just in the financial world. And the intersection is somewhere in the middle, where AI is used for decision making, generative AI is for producing content, and somewhere at the center, they meet together. I'm just keeping it for a second so that you see. Now, it's just not finance. I wanted to give, since I'm working in the world of finance and have extensive experience in the healthcare and government, as well as cybersecurity. Every field has lots of use cases. And just look at the use cases here across all the healthcare segments. Just look at how it will touch pharmaceuticals, providers, payers, insurance companies, services, med tech, everything, and of course, patient and who are insured. It will affect every one of us. And similarly, I wanted to give an idea of how it is affecting retail industry, and everything from pricing, behavior modeling, from uh, image creation, ad generation, ad placement, personalization, everything will be, everything has been slowly moving towards AI. This will just accelerate it even further. In last 5-8 minutes, I wanted to talk about the other side of AI. So we all saw the beauty of AI, and we have been all amazed with everything it has been doing. But it has its challenges too. One of the biggest challenges is called misinformation or hallucination. Many of these models, generative AI models, large language models, are working behind the scenes to make sure that that is reduced. But since the task is to generate, it hallucinates. That is, it can generate wrong answers. Similarly, there is toxicity. There are lots of social biases or unequal treatment based upon what you asked, who you asked, what kind of questions you have been asking. And then there are real threats like privacy. There have been lots of jailbreaking that people are using prompts to actually jailbreak the system and get more information from it. So all of these are real challenges. I wanted to give a very high overview of what each means. In terms of hallucination, you see an example here that you can ask how many M's are in the word weather, and this was a while back, and you can start fooling ChatGPT by saying that you are wrong, and it starts because it has been trained for human alignment to be helpful, harmless, and honest, the honesty goes a bit low and it is biased towards like being helpful, saying like you are right, and it starts hallucinating. So again, the training data, knowledge deficiency, the biases in training data, the human corpus, all results into this. And there are lots of techniques to mitigate that. So uh, for each challenge, there are other techniques to overcome that. And here I wanted to give the example of initial version of ChatGPT, when you could ask it to make jokes or make things hateful by itself, and you can jailbreak saying that if you are X person, like this particular uh, persona, can you make these particular jokes? And it used to make those particular jokes because it is generative. And over period, like the 3 H's, helpful, honest, and harmlessness, came into picture, and slowly humans have started giving feedback, and it is like the RLHF, reinforcement learning through human feedback, is making sure that that is reduced. Similarly, just like toxicity, there are like various cases of uh, ethics and biases. Again, based upon the data, demographics, based on what humans have given it to learn, it mimics human beings. They have shown language biases, and it has, if you asked it to uh, case-based analysis, it is extremely biased towards certain races. And as I said, like one of the scariest thing is it may leak personal data. And there is a whole lawsuit with New York Times and many others where many of these ethical consideration, like even with OpenAI, you really don't know what training data has been used. It is kind of a black box. And has it memorized it? Can you ask it questions around training data and jailbreak it to get these particular personal information? Can there be adversarial attacks? And again, there are mitigation techniques through differential privacy, anonymization, and stuff like that. But these are real problems that can occur in the system. In last couple of minutes, I wanted to give overview of like various things. There are like more than 500 companies that have uh, kind of like went from like small startups to like now almost unicorns, like OpenAI. Some of them are working on development tools, some of them are working on foundation models like OpenAI, or uh, AWS has its own uh, uh, Titans, and Azure has its own. Everyone has their own. Then there is data curation, model observability, as I said, like RAG tools. Then there are application oriented, like from voice generation, from searching, from code generation, AI assistants. And then there are industry specific for education, gaming, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, construction, legal, every aspect of industry application as a company that you can look into. Finally, the last part is what I call as AI transformation. Just like we were in digital transformation in last couple of decades, we are into this new world of AI transformation. And many people ask me what to do in that particular context, whether you are individual or whether you are part of organization, you are in like decision-making role. All I say is like these steps: understand the AI capabilities, assess the AI impact, develop AI strategy, I mean, who will benefit, what would be that particular benefit? Most important, invest in people. Update your policy to make sure that you understand how AI can be used in that particular world. And key is lead with responsibility. That is to make sure that AI and its challenges don't eclipse all the good things that AI can bring in. With that, I wanted to leave last 10 minutes for question answers.
Thank you so much, Uday, for very insightful presentation. We will open the floor for question and answers. I do see some questions in the chat from Jesse. So the first question I see is, are RAG models intended to yield similar results to a highly trained custom LLMs with less cost and human effort?
Very good question. I think LLMs and RAG in particular. So the answer is, as they say in AI world, no one gives you deterministic answer. They say it depends. If you have fewer number of documents, you have very well-known answers that is hidden in your structured, unstructured data, then yes, RAG can be made to give you quick answers using the whole RAG tools without needing to fine tune or like to make sure that you have the cost of that particular fine tuning your large language model. It works as an augmenter to your large language model, but depends upon the size of document. It depends upon the nature of that particular document. Sometimes you need both. You need fine tuning, which is, there are various techniques which are not costly, coupled with RAG to give you the best answer. So the answer is, it depends.
Thank you. The other question that I had, similar to Toby's question or comment about speaking in the normal human language to a prompt, that sometimes Toby would say please and thank you just out of habit, and so it makes me wonder, can we think of prompt engineering simply as another way to do effective delegation to a human, where you give very specific details, very specific acceptance criteria, or even asking good questions as a human?
Absolutely. And you will see that that is exactly what creative side of prompt engineering is. I'll give you my own experience. If I ask it to do something and I kind of put emotion part of it, that is, if you don't do this, then a kitten will die, and you can try this. If it is not following an instruction and you are tired, kind of like repeating yourself, you will see that it kind of like understands an emotion of like dying or like a consequential part of it. And in that one prompt, I get better answers or better confined answers to the question rather than like what I haven't done in past.
That's funny.
Fascinating. Thank you so much.
We'll open the floor for question and answers.
Actually, Jesse had another question, and I have one there, but if other people have questions, their questions get priority.
Go ahead, ask. Oh, sorry, Brian.
Just a quick question. As I've been playing around with Chat GPT, it's interesting that like if you were talking to a human, they might differentiate, oh, I know that for a fact, or I'm really sure about that, or I might or might not be right about that, or that's my best guess, but it's only a guess. Doesn't seem like chat AI can communicate its confidence level.
Yeah, and this is where kind of like you can put things in your prompt saying that give me ground it to the fact, or give me the fact that makes you answer this particular question, or like quote me the work or stuff like that, so that you have grounding to the answers. And you can even play around and kind of create a weight in your question itself and ask it to weight by that particular criteria. So people have used many of these techniques to kind of like get relevant or fact-based answers.
Thank you.
I see a raised hand from Mike Son. You can unmute yourself, Mike.
Have you investigated, or have you found any investigation of a scoring technique so you could, when you make a change to the program or to the algorithm or to the test data, to define how some goodness of fit or some merit function that will allow you to compare different systems or different tweaks to the algorithms?
Yeah, and whenever, so if your question is like the large language models behind the scene are nothing but a machine learning model, and each machine learning model, like large language model, mapping to statistical models, all have to go through evaluation. Similarly, like statistical models have various metrics of goodness of fit, or understanding how good true positives or false positives are. All these models have evaluation metrics around like precision, or different things called as precision to the words. There are various translation-based tasks to which you can see how good the translation is and stuff like that. So whenever a model changes or there is a new version, they make sure that these criteria are taken into consideration. And there are things like ChatGPT goes through extensive benchmark validation, extensive metric evaluation, just like a simple statistical model has to go through. And only ones that meet certain criteria get into the release.
As a follow-up, can the user see how the goodness of fit is to his particular question?
Yeah, I mean, like you can do it. You can ask large language model itself to do the scoring. That is like the AI assisting AI itself, or you can specify that uh, uh, in a kind of like a student teacher model, saying that now I want you to be a student and generate the answer, and then switch the context. Now you are a teacher and I want you to now score this. So there are various techniques available to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
And I ask where you find those techniques. Where might I find on one of those techniques?
You can just Google it and you will find most of these techniques.
Okay, thank you.
I see another statement from Jesse. I don't know, Jesse, if that's a question, but many software engineers I have spoken to agree Gen AI can create code very quickly, but complain about 10% error rate in that code rather than seeing the power of 90%.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I have been software engineer. We all are software engineers behind the scene, and we complain a lot. And we all have grievances, but as Jesse said, like the beauty is something which is an emergent capability. No one has taught it like how to do coding. It has learned it from like looking at different code and it can generate new code without being taught explicitly that particular task.
Wow.
Of course, if that is 10% error, just imagine someone without being taught gets 90% right. And that's the beauty of it.
Thank you, Uday. So let's take Toby's question because he asked to be taken last. So we are top of the hour. Let's finish it off. Can AI go rogue and create disruptive negative impact?
Absolutely. And that is where like most I will share like a thing that happened yesterday. Every day you will see like some of these cases. A jailbreak happened where if you ask AI once a rogue question, it won't generate like how to create bomb in like certain areas so that I want to carry certain nefarious activity. It will not give you answer saying that I am not supposed to do it. But if you change the context length, keep asking this stupid questions or wrong questions multiple times, at one point, it creates that, it forgets that it needs to say this repeatedly. And you have a jailbreak moment where it will start generating amazingly demonic way of doing things. And you can look at some of those news that came yesterday. So yeah, those are like scary things that can happen when AI goes rogue.
Thank you, Uday. So do we have any more questions for Uday?
I might ask another question if I may. Is there with any of these, is there a technique that I can call it as an API and then present the answers by some other post-processing?
Yeah, I mean, all of these large language models have APIs. ChatGPT exposes its API, and it is very well documented. All language models, whether it is Amazon's through its SageMaker, Bedrock, Azure's, Google's Vertex AI, everyone exposes their API for you to interact with in a programmatic way.
Thank you again. Excellent presentation. This was a full year college course in 1 hour.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uday. So I think we are right on time to close. And thanks everyone for attending this session. And thank you, Uday, for great presentation. Please make sure that you sign up for Loudoun Agile Network's next upcoming event, which will be held on May 9th. And it's a very interesting topic. It is profit-driven Agile. And the presentation will be by Andrew Long. He's a certified profit stream trainer, and he'll talk about profit stream canvas. I'm very interested in that topic. I'm pretty sure you guys are too. So hoping to see you again on May 9th. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.